and Neil Cavuto shows. And character is the most important word in Reverend Peterson's vocabulary. Will you please welcome Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson?
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me here. I absolutely appreciate it. I want to make it clear that I am not an African American. I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro. There are no African drums beating in my chest. The American guitar is playing in my heart. Hey. I'm as black as the ace of spades. You turn these lights out, you only see white teeth. But 100% American. I grew up on a plantation down in Alabama, right outside of Montgomery, Alabama. And I remember for colors only sign, for whites only, we can only live in certain areas. Not one time did I hear my grandparents or my parents say that we should hate white folks. They said that if you do the right thing, treat people the way you would like to be treated, you can make it in this country. They taught us that. They did not teach us to hate. And I left Alabama in 1968 when I moved to Los Angeles. And so I started to go to some of the black churches in the area, and I would say to the preachers, you know, I feel empty. I don't really know what I want to do in life. And they would say, oh, it's not you, it's racism, it's the white man trying to hold you back. And then when I was smoking this weed, they told me, well, you're black, you know, black people built this country. If you're on drugs and can't work, you can go down to the welfare office and tell them that, and you can get free money. I'm like, wow, that's cool. So I ran down and I told the person I couldn't work, and that I was smoking weed, I couldn't work. They gave me $300 in cash. They paid my rent, they gave me free health care and took care of me, and I got worse instead of getting better, because when you don't work for yourself, you get worse in life when you're not out there working and taking care of yourself. Long story short, again, I realized, wow, I've gotten worse instead of getting better, because when I was growing up, I had never heard of welfare. There was no such thing as government taking care of you. We took care of ourselves, and the church would help out if that was a problem. We never knew about government at all. It's not racism that's holding us back as black Americans, it's a lack of moral character. It's a lack of having the proper parents to guide you in the right way, a father and mother together. And so when he forgave me, I became a conservative Republican. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. And I have to tell you, it is easier to be a member of the KKK than it is to be a black Republican conservative in the black community. Man, I literally can see life in a different manner. I don't see it I see color, but I see that my battle is a battle between good and evil, right versus wrong. It has nothing to do with color at all. Nothing at all. A little faster, I realized that black Americans are suffering because they have been lied to. They've been told that it's about color, and they've been told that the white man is the problem. And so I realized it's a moral issue, so I started the organization B.O.N.D, the Brotherhood's Organization of a New Destiny, and our purpose is to rebuild the family by rebuilding the man. Because what happened was, some 50 years ago, the government came in under Lyndon B. Johnson, and it said to black people, we're going to take care of you because of racism, you can't make it. And the government became the daddy of the family, and the corrupt black leaders like Jesse Jackson and others became the head of the people. And they've been using black Americans for the last 50 years for their own personal gain. It has nothing to do about love. They don't care about black Americans. They're only keeping them dependent on government, hating the white man, divide and conquer for their own personal gain. I write about Jesse Jackson in my book, Scam, How the Black Leadership Exploits Black Americans. He's always been a liar. He's always been a deceiver. When he was a member of Dr. Martin Luther King's organization, Dr. King threw him out several times. As a matter of fact, when Dr. King was assassinated, Jackson put what looked like some blood on his shirt, and he went around lying and saying that Dr. King died in his arms. And then he was pressed by the media. He had to later admit that Dr. King did not die in his arms, that he had lied about it. So he's always been about Jackson and no one else. There's nothing like living in America and standing up and fighting for America. I'm telling you, it's simple. Dr. King said that one day we will become one nation under God. Jackson's nightmare is that we are more divided as a race than any other time in history. And Dr. King also said that we should be judged by the contents of character and not color. Jackson's nightmare, because it caused a whole lot of black Americans to rely on the government. Jackson's nightmare is that most black people lack character, and instead they're judged by their color. And I'll give you quick examples of that. When I was growing up, less than 10% of black children born out of wedlock, right? Now 70% nationwide. And they're relying on the government. It's not like they're married and having these children. Dr. King said that one day we will be united. We're more divided. In the black community, abortion out of control. So we got to rebuild the family. I started the South Central LA Tea Party. And every time I tell people about it, they laugh. They're like, wow. And when I tell black people about it, they stop for a moment. They're like, South Central LA Tea Party? Are black people part of it? I'm like, yeah, they are. Blacks and Hispanics and others. I do want to tell you this. When after I started B.O.N D, I went on the radio because I wanted to get the message out of forgiveness, loving your country, telling them that they're not African Americans, but that they are Americans, and that they should think for themselves and not rely on the government, but rely on themselves. You know, get married and take care of each other. There are those who are on the side of evil, and they don't have God on their side. They only have intimidation. They can only call you names or threaten you. I've had guns drawn on me and everything, right? And if you don't give in to the intimidation, they have nothing to stand on because they don't have God on their side. Yes. And so if you just let them call you whatever they want, let it roll off your back, and you tell the truth will change things. But don't be afraid to tell the truth. And I started the South Central LA Tea Party because I realized that a lot of black people think that the Republicans are their enemies. They think that the Republicans want to put them back on a plantation. I remember hearing that when Ronald Reagan was president, and I wasn't involved in politics or anything like that. And Ronald Reagan was cutting out a lot of the programs, entitlement programs, and they were mad about that. Maxine Waters and others were mad about it, and they told black folks that they're against you because you're black. That's why you need to be a Democrat, because the Democratic Party cares about you. They're going to give you something. And black Americans fell for that. And so the reason I started the South Central LA Tea Party, because it's not about whether you're a Democrat or Republican. It's about Americans coming together for a common cause, and that cause is to save our country. It's about less taxes, freedom, independence, and Constitution, right? And so when we talk to black Americans about it now, because at first they think it's about Republicans, but when I tell them what we're standing for and be patient with them, I can honestly tell you many of them are starting to take a second look, because they're kind of fed up with the way that things are for them, you know. A lot of them are more educated now, and they would love to start businesses and be involved. And so they're starting to pay attention. I was talking to one young man down in Alabama. He's well educated, and I asked him to, you know, I was going to go down to Alabama and we could start a tea party down there. He's like, no, we can't do a tea party. And I said, why not? He said, because it's racist. Yeah. And I said, well, who told you that it's racist? He said, he heard the Congressional Black Caucus and the liberal media. And then he said, but on the other hand, the Tea Party in my area is trying to get me to join. The white folks are trying to get me to join, right? And I said, so if it's a racist party, then this guy has a degree. The Congressional Black Caucus had a meeting recently here in LA at Crenshaw Christian Center, and they pretend like it's about looking for jobs. And Maxine Waters stood up and said to the congregation, they want to tear down the projects in LA. They want to tear down Jordan Down and the other projects. She named all the projects. And she said, I'm not going to let them do that. Don't worry. I'm going to make sure you stay in the projects, and I'm going to even build some more. And the people went, yeah, right on, praise the Lord. I'm like, wow, I have my work cut out. Because it looks like love. It looks like they care about you when they constantly give you something for nothing. But I have to tell you, we are committed to changing this. It was the truth that changed my life, and I am unwilling to give up the truth for anything or anybody. And that's a commitment you got to have. And black Americans need to hear the truth, because they're not getting the truth in their communities, they're not getting it in their churches, they're not getting it in their schools, so it got to come from somewhere. And you have the responsibility to tell the truth. Be patient with them. I often tell white folks that if you're afraid to tell black people the truth, what you can do, and here's what I recommend, is that you tell them the truth, right? And then you take off running. This is the greatest country in the world. There is nowhere else to go. One other quick thing. Jobs are really, you know, it's bad in the black community. It's bad in our country, period. But I think it's something like 17% in the black community. And we've been trying to get them to realize that Maxine Waters and the Congressional Black Caucus, Louis Farrakhan, our president, are not on their side. Because if they were on their side, they would shut down the borders so that black Americans could get day labor work. There's one good reason that Obama said. There's no other good reason. One is that it is awakening America, shock us back into reality. Had John McCain been in there, we would have complained, but not taken action. Obama is forcing us to take action, so that's a good thing. But he will go down in history as the most hated, worst redistribution of wealth, black liberation theology, white hating, Jewish hating, lying socialist president that we've ever have seen. Don't worry, we're working with all races of people, but we're waking up black folks and we're waking up Hispanics as well, because they are under attack too. They've been lied to in the same manner. But I urge you, let's work together. Let's tell the truth, because it's the truth that's going to change us, that's going to save this great country. That make sense? Yeah.